Welcome and great to have you in this session. Today we continue with the Move to Cloud ERP Practical Guide, the free webcast series that provides a comprehensive overview of why the cloud ERP transformation is essential for companies, how it can be successfully implemented, and what support is available to accelerate your transformation journey. We have a full schedule for you for the entire year. We've planned already about 30 weekly live sessions structured around why, how, and what, targeting global audience. Make sure you are registered and get access to the collections of assets such as recordings, PDFs, and other formats, as well as updates on the topics. I will post the full schedule of the series later in the chat. So the session today will focus on lessons learned from the SAP S4HANA transformation projects. Today we have the session where we really hear from the expert that had some real experience with those projects, and they will be happy to share them with you. Today we have Tina Gailus and Jose Marquez Maris. Both are part of the SAP S4HANA Customer Care Program, and they will lead through the session. My name is Larissa Brinkman from the SAP Global User Groups Organization, and I'm your host. Please post your questions via Q&A tool, and we will be happy to answer them later. This session is being recorded, and the recording will be made available to the registrants of the series. But now let's get started, and over to you, Tina.
Thank you very much, Larissa. I hope you're able to hear me okay. I will start my video only briefly because I'm currently improvising a little bit as my computer just crashed. So warm welcome everyone, also from my side. I'm happy to be here today and to present to you some of the lessons learned from our project S4HANA project that we supported as part of the S4HANA Customer Care and RIG team. And let me turn off my camera just so that we can make sure everything works fine. And let's take a look at our agenda for today. So first of all, I'm gonna introduce to you our group, what we do, and also a little bit about the background, our mission. Then we will look into S4HANA adoption insights. So ever since the first S4 release, what has happened since then, how many customers and things like that. Then I will hand over to Pepe for some successful or key aspects that you should consider in order for your transformation to S4 to be successful. And then we conclude with a wrap up and Q&A in the end. Okay, so the customer care and RIG, who are we? Our team, as you can see here, it's a global team of experts, around 80 S4HANA experts, and our mission is to make selected S4HANA projects successful. The group's been around since 2015-16, so with the first S4HANA release. And first we focused on on-premise customers. Now our major focus is S4HANA Cloud Private Edition. And we focus on basically two pillars. So one is the direct project support, the so-called customer care program. And I will tell you a little bit more about this later. And this is where we have directly supported projects on the way to S4. Up until today, that's more than 1,300 projects. And then we have a second pillar, which is knowledge sharing with the ecosystem. So everything that we learned during those projects that we supported, we put it into either blogs or also boot camps that I will show you a little bit about later, to share that experience, lessons learned with the wider ecosystem, or also like today, a presentation to you to leverage those learnings from the projects. So this is our setup, and these are the key offerings that we have as part of the customer care and RIG team. If you look at the middle, this is what I mentioned, the direct project support, the customer care program. So this is when you start an implementation project in the beginning. We support this from start to go live. It's a free of charge offering. And like I said, our current focus is private cloud edition projects transitioning to S4. Then we have two other offerings, our bootcamps. At the top, you see the 10 steps to S4 bootcamp. It's also a free of charge offering. And this one focuses on on a conversion project to S4. So it's basically a hands-on bootcamp. So this is what it's all about, to really work hands-on on the system and do an actual conversion to S4. So normally customers, they participate in a team. So you have various roles from a functional to basis experts, and they carry out the different exercises in 10 steps. That's why it's called 10 steps over a course of 4 weeks. And yeah, this is ideally, of course, before you start your transition to S4, because you will get a lot of learnings out of this, what you need to consider in a conversion project. And also, if a conversion project is run by a partner, this is always highly appreciated by our customers, because then they also get a better feel for what's actually required, what do they need to pay attention to. And so this is then, yeah, an ideal offering. And in the end, I will also share further links with you and the dates. So we are running this usually once or 3 times, 4 times a year. Exactly. And as a third offering, in the bottom, you see the 5 steps to Fiori bootcamp for customers. This is to get a better understanding of Fiori, like the name says, and what's required in the setup, how you can identify the right apps, how you can extend certain apps. And it's similar to the 10 steps bootcamp in the sense that it's also a team that is required to carry out the exercises. And it really also focuses on the hands-on part. So it's not just listening to the sessions, but it's really hands-on activities. So for both of those boot camps, you should make sure that you also reserve the time of the team to really be able to do the exercises. So these are the 3 main offerings that we have as of now. And we are currently planning a third bootcamp that's called 10 Steps to Clean Core, which will come out for customers in Q3, Q4 this year. Once more information and details on this is available, I'm also happy to share that with you. So this is about the offerings. Then, let's look at some statistics from the team, the customer care and RIG team. In the middle, you see what I already mentioned, more than 1,300 projects that we supported since the initiation of the program in 2015. Then also 78 boot camps that we delivered with almost 1,000 customers that we supported. And what is also quite prominent and what I'd like to highlight is the total views of all blogs that we publish, which is more than 10 million. And if you look in the SAP community for the tag S4HANA RIG, you will find all of our blogs. So depending on the topic, we also in the end of this presentation have a couple of links for you with our most relevant knowledge assets in terms of S4HANA transformations. So this is definitely something that you should look up and take into consideration for your planning. Now let's look at some of the S4HANA adoption insights. So first of all, where are we today? Like I said, first S4HANA release with 15.11, but now, a couple of years later, we have more than 26,000 customers. And yeah, also now Clean Core, Rise Premium Plus are the our new focus areas. And so with the 2023 release, we also say that this is now the go-to release, so to say, because also things that have been in compatibility mode before can now, so there's successor solutions for everything. And also with this release, but Pippa will tell you more about this later, but with the 2023 release, we also changed the release cycle of S4. So here you see it was a yearly release, but now this has changed. So the next S4HANA release that is going to come out will be the 2025 release. So we skip 1 year. Okay, so this is a recap. I'm pretty sure that all of you are very familiar with this and the transition paths to S4. So basically, there are three different ways to transition. First one at the top, system conversion. Then we also have the selective data transition and the new implementation. Maybe let's start in the bottom with the new implementation. So as you can see on the right-hand side, if you consider a public cloud solution, that is basically the only transition or the only way to implement public cloud. Whereas for S4HANA on-premise or the private edition, all the three transition options are possible. So with the new implementation, here it says business model innovation. So it's highly standardized approach with best practices, or you can also make use of the enterprise management layer. And in the following slides, I will show you a little more about the criteria, but basically if you really want to redesign your processes and don't really need, or your old system is not that much of an asset, but more of an innovation blocker, then new implementation is chosen. But so from our experience, it's around 50-50 new implementation and system conversion. Those are the most common scenarios, and selective data transition is more of an exception. And so the selective data transition is mostly used if selected data is needed in the migration, or if there is supposed to be system merge, and it never comes out of the box, but it's always customer tailored, and requires also special SAP services from our DMLT teams. And the third one at the top is the system conversion. Here it says start rapid modernization. So in general, from what we see, also the average project durations, the system conversion is usually the fastest, because you can also start just with the technical part, make it, so from technically convert from ECC to S4, and then look at the innovations at a later stage, which is also what we recommend, which is what Pippa will also go a bit more into depth with. But in general, system conversion, so you can reuse your data, stays in the system, and just convert it. But maybe let's look at the next slide. There we listed a few of the criteria that customers look at when making the decision if it should be a system conversion or a new implementation project. So one aspect that needs to be considered, that I already mentioned, is the future readiness of your system. So either your current system already supports today's and also future requirements in terms of master data and org structures, then you're all set. You can go for a system conversion. But if you, let's say, already thinking about fundamentally redesigning master data, org structures, or also your processes, then that's a good indication to go for a new implementation. And yeah, together with this goes the current system perception. If your system is already a key asset supporting everything, then go for the system conversion. If it's more of an innovation blocker, then the new implementation might be a good idea. Looking at data quality, and also, with this goes the custom code. If the data quality is good, the custom code is well maintained, then this will be a good indication for a system conversion, because data quality issues, also custom code adjustments, these are also effort drivers in a system conversion. But if this is already well maintained and ready for the future, then you can go for the system conversion. Whereas your custom code is outdated and the data quality is bad and might cause a lot of issues during the conversion, might be a good indication to go for the new implementation. Then release level, ERP 6 and above, system conversion below ERP 6 should be a new implementation, because then you would actually have two projects in one just to get to the ERP 6 release to do the conversion. And for the historical data, if you want to keep it and need it, system conversion, but if not, then new implementation. Okay, then we can move to the next slide. Yeah, with this slide, we just wanted to show you, or raise also your level of confidence. We have supported various industries and also very large customers. These are some of the examples of the largest customers that we supported in their projects. So, for example, on the top left-hand side, healthcare, with 12,000 users and a 12 terabyte memory system and a system conversion in 16 months. Or next to that one, a selective data transition that was done in 12 months, also with 2,000 users in the travel and transportation industry. Largest system is with a 300,000 employees and 35,000 users. That was in the Asia Pacific region, in the right bottom corner, when new implementation with a 2 times 24 terabyte memory system. But so just to show, there are various industries, various large projects, and we see all types of implementation scenarios, because there's really no right or wrong. It really depends on the criteria that I showed before. So there's no single solution, but depends on your unique customer situation, which one would be the better transition option for you. And then let's look at one more example. So this is a project plan from a high-tech customer in Europe, 700 company codes, and they did a system conversion from ERP 6 Enhancement Pack 7 on HANA already to S4 in 10 months. So quite a quick project. And what I would like to highlight here in this project plan is that it's crucial to do 2 to 5 conversion cycles on a sandbox system. So here you can see cycle 1, 2, and 3 as a sandbox conversion. And then you correct all these errors that come up during the sandbox conversions in your productive system, make a new copy, and then run another sandbox iteration, because this can really reduce your time, help you fix the errors, and be ready then for the next cycle. And so this customer did the three cycles, and then they did the development and the quality, and then of course the productive conversion. And also interesting here, you see that the enhancement freeze / double maintenance, they make sense to try to keep it as short as possible because of double maintenance effort after the development conversion. So that's a very nice example here, but yeah, keep in mind, we recommend 2 to 5 test conversions in a sandbox system and then start with development. And with that, I will hand over to Pepe to talk about some of the key aspects for a successful transition.
Thanks, Tina. Well, my name is Jose Marquez, sorry, or Pepe. I'm leading the customer care as Tina presented for the Americas, and I am going to share with you some key aspect things that you have to consider for your journey to SAP S/4HANA. Okay, so we have divided those recommendations or those key aspects, and you can see them here. So I will go one by one. Let's start with when you are planning your project. So there are two tools that we strongly recommend you to execute. The first one is SAP Readiness Check. With SAP Readiness Check, you will get a technical view of your current system, right? So how ready your system is to actually be converted to SAP S/4HANA. As you know, there are several changes that happen if you compare your S/4HANA with an SAP ERP system. So, for example, there are new capabilities that you are going to need to adopt. There are capabilities that we still have, but has been adjusted, has changed. So you have to manage the change for those capabilities. Some of them have not changed at all. So you just need to test those scenarios when you move to S/4HANA and keep using them as it is, maybe to add some Fiori apps on top, but nothing, any major change. So there are other capabilities that are in compatibility scope. I will go in a little bit more detail about those scenarios, but basically the recommendation is you have to move to the new solution, to the target solution, although they are in compatibility scope. There are some adjustments regarding the custom code that you need to take care of. And finally, some deprecated capabilities, right? So things that, or processes, maybe transactions that you are currently using SAP ERP that are not available in SAP S/4HANA. Therefore, you need to manage the change as well, to move maybe to a different solution, to start using different transactions, to start using different Fiori apps, and it will impact the final users. Okay, so going back to the first tool, we talk about a readiness check, right? The readiness check first will show you what are all the simplification items that are impacting your system. So I show in the previous slide several of the potential simplification items. So, but this tool will show you exactly what applies to your system. Let's say we have around 900 simplification items, but through this tool, you will get only the 100, 150 that you need to take care of, okay? Another section is the items that are in compatibility scope. So the compatibility scope are features that belong to SAP ERP that are still available in S/4HANA. So you still can use those features in SAP S/4HANA, but the usage rights expire in 2025 with some exception that go to 2030. Therefore, if you are planning to move to S/4HANA, considering that we are already mid-2024, you must also consider get rid of those items that are in compatibility scope and implement the new solution, the solution that is going to replace those items in compatibility scope. From the functional part, there are other two sections that you should focus. The first one is the customer and vendor data analysis. So it will show you, first, if you already have active the business partner concept, what are the number of customers and vendors that you have to synchronize, the errors that you are going to have to fix to have a successful synchronization. And based on that, you are going to have a better view of what you have to do to remediate of all the errors. Another important section is the financial data quality. It will show you for asset accounting and the other FI features, how clean your system is. So it will show you as well in detail what are the errors, the number of errors, and what are the notes that you have to review in order to fix those errors, so you will not have issues when you execute your system conversion, or in that case, the post-conversion activities. Okay. From the technical part, this tool will show you what are the add-ons that you currently have in your system, and based on that, you can decide what you are going to do. Maybe you expect to use those add-ons in the productive system. If so, you have to reach out to the owner of the add-on to make sure it is compatible with the target solution. Maybe there are some add-ons that you currently have, but you are not planning to use when you move to S/4HANA. So you also need to reach out to the owner of the add-on to get the tool or the process to uninstall those add-ons. Okay. Another important aspect is the analysis of the interfaces. So how your interfaces are going to be impacted. Also, what is the technology that you are using? Maybe you are using some iDocs, and it is a good opportunity as well to replace those old features with new ones, like the new APIs that we deliver. Okay, so well, this is just a high-level overview of what you have to do. But the most important part of this, the outcome after you have a check, the readiness check, is a list of a list of tasks that you have to perform before you actually start your project. And this is something that you have to execute after you have finished this process, this evaluation, this readout of readiness check. So when the time comes and you start your system conversion, you are not going to face any of those issues. Another important tool to execute is SAP Signavio Process Insight. We have two flavors of Process Insights. So the regular one that has a lot of process flow, a lot more analysis, but there is also one free of charge version that is called Discovery Edition. So the recommendation for you is that you start with at least Discovery Edition, and after that you can decide if you need more insights, so to discuss with your account executive to also get SAP Process Insights, the paid version. Okay, so why this tool is important, I am going to highlight a couple of sections. First, it will show you some correction recommendations, and you can see here in the free version up to 61. And those correction recommendations first are based on your current data, right? So in your SAP ERP, and we'll show you, for example, what are the list of open items that you have, and the ones, for example, the purchase order that has been open for more than 1 year. Okay, why is important for you to know that? Because it's good for you to start working on those corrections before you start your conversion to S/4HANA. So for example, in that case, the action could be immediately close those purchase orders, or maybe to plan an archiving for that information that is very old. Again, why is important for you to know that? Because this not only creates data that is not useful if you are not expecting to receive those purchase orders, but it's also data that is affecting other processes, right? Following the same example, it will affect the MRP process because the system is going to think that you are expecting to receive some products when that is not going to happen. Okay, that is why it's important for you to execute, to analyze, and to do the recommendations, the correction recommendations, even before you start your journey to S/4HANA. After that, another important section is the innovation recommendations. Based on your current data, this tool is going to show you what are the recommended tools that you must evaluate when you move to S/4HANA. I'm talking about the different SAP Fiori apps, for example, different innovations that we have delivered that will help you to have a better control of the processes that are, that are creating data that is not useful, like for example, using situation handling to monitor the performance of your purchase orders and proactively close those processes. Also, we'll show you some other tools that you can use, for example, tools that we deliver in BTP or other solutions, right? For example, for this case, it will show you as well some bots that will help you to automatically complete some processes, okay? It does not mean that you have to implement those tools, but at least you can have a good understanding about what are the options that you have, and you can plan your move to S/4HANA not only technically, but also adding value to the final users, implementing some of those innovation recommendations. Okay, following in this line, the next recommendation is that you plan a long-term, not only your system conversion. So as we always said, to move to S/4HANA is not the end, it is the beginning. So usually what we see for our customers moving to S/4HANA, especially the brownfield, the ones who move brownfield or system conversion, is that they move to S/4HANA and they only set some basic foundations for innovation. Like for example, they enable SAP Fiori Launchpad with some Fiori apps, but the recommendation that we have for you is that do not plan just the system conversion, but also consider a roadmap of future implementations. Like for example, in following this graph, is that in a phase 2, you start growing your SAP Fiori coverage. So you went live with just a few features of Fiori, but after that you start adding more roles, adding more Fiori apps, and showing more value to the final users. And after that, in a third phase, that you add also other capabilities, more intelligent scenarios, like for example, machine learning or RPAs, or even situation handling. Okay, so again, the message here is that the move to S/4HANA is just the foundation for you to start implementing different innovations, and you have to implement those innovations at your own pace. This is one example of the features that our customer consider as part of the first move to S/4HANA, and is the Launchpad, some of the Launchpad features. Like as you can see, you can add or enable the notifications that are aligned with situation handling or workflow. So the user that has, for example, to approve will get a notification, and you will have a better process, a better experience for your final users. Okay, so going back to the compatibility scope, as I mentioned, the compatibility scope are features that belongs to SAP ERP, but we made available in S/4HANA, but just for a limited time. The majority of them will expire at the end of 2025, so in 1.5 years, and just a few of them in 2030. Some exceptions, like for example, transportation, customer service. But what you have to do is, if let's say that you are going to start your project now, considering that you potentially could go live at the beginning of next year, it means that after that, you are only going to have a few months before this goes at the end of maintenance or end of usage rights, okay? So you are not going to have time to plan another project just to remove those items in compatibility scope. That is why we strongly recommend that when you move to S/4HANA, you evaluate as well the compatibility scope section, and you plan your project getting rid of those features and moving to the new solutions that SAP is offering, okay? After 2025, you are not, customers in S/4HANA are not entitled to use those features in compatibility scope. That is why it's important for you to know and to plan, also considering that you have to replace those items. The next recommendation is to focus on the preparation. Okay, so we talk about readiness check. The result of readiness check is a list of pre-projects, and that is part of the preparation phase, so the execution of those pre-projects. So just following this example, so we have here a customer who planned even more time for the pre-project, so 6 weeks, and the first sandbox took another 6 weeks. Okay, So why? Because there is a lot of things that you are going to need to do as part of those pre-praise. Like for example, for configuration, you are going to need to interact with the business and you are going to need to get their input, and that could take some time. So for finance, especially if you are going to need the support of SAP to remediate some of the issues, potentially some of them are going to be solved only with the support of SAP. Okay, so you need to open an incident, and SAP is going to be the one actually fixing, running some programs, or I mean, solving the problem. And again, as in the previous case, it's not something that is going to happen from one day to the next one, right? So you have to open an incident, SAP has to assign someone, so there is going to be a lot of back and forth, and it will take some time. So that is why it's important for you to start that as early as possible. Same case with the partners, the owners of the add-ons. So to certify one add-on in the target version that you need could take several weeks as well. So that is why it is important for you to reach out to the owner of the add-on as early as possible, so you are going to avoid any any delay, because the add-on potentially could stop your system conversion. There are other activities that you must consider that are also important for you to have a better uh, a better project, or more successful or more smooth project. Like for example, start with data cleansing, archiving, and why not to plan a pre-project of the customer vendor integration in a sandbox system. So you are going to execute the synchronization in a sandbox system, and after that you will fix all the errors in your productive environment before you actually start your project. So there is a lot of things that you can do as part of the preparation. In Activate, SAP Activate, we have created a section called the pre-conversion projects execution, where you can see several examples of those pre-projects with all the detail that you need to know. Another aspect, and this is especially for finance, is when you plan your project, it's not only the correction or the remediation in the sandbox system of those issues. You also need to plan some time to do the remediations in your productive environment. Why? Because next time that you copy your system for your next iterations, or your next sandbox, or your next quality conversion, those issues are going to be fixed already, so you are not going to face the same problem, okay? This is an example of one customer. They ran their first conversion, and the first conversion lasts 30 days, right? So it was more than 1 month. But after they made all the corrections in the productive system, and they ran they copy again the productive system and run a second conversion. So the second one lasts only 7 days, right? Because everything was already fixed. That is the reason why it's important. First, that you to know that the first iteration is going to take longer, and it is important for you to plan also to spend time doing the remediation before you move to the next cycle, okay? So going back to the conversion cycles, as Tina mentioned, we recommend that you plan for several iterations, right? So ideally, one sandbox, but if needed, you have to run more than one sandbox. If you face many issues, so it's important for you to plan another sandbox before you can actually move to your productive environment. Once you have completed that sandbox conversion, or those sandbox conversion, then is when you move to dev and quality system. And finally, before the productive conversion, that you plan at least one dress rehearsal, okay? And as in the previous cases, if the dress rehearsal did not happen as you were expecting, so then you need to plan one more dress rehearsal. Another important aspect here is that you must consider as well to create your runbook. So every time that you complete a conversion, the next cycle will follow exactly the same steps, the ones that were documented in your runbook. With that, you will make sure that you are following exactly the same steps, the same corrections, and next cycle should be faster. Another important aspect is to test properly. So first, we are talking about a system conversion, not this is not an upgrade, right? So therefore, you must spend time testing, and you have to plan with realistic timelines. Okay, so after you have completed a conversion, depending on the system that you are converting, you have to plan for those tests, and you have to invite not only the IT team, but also all the resources that needs to be involved in the testing. And it does not mean that you only need to test the processes that has been affected. You have to plan to execute integration tests for all the scenarios with all the different uh, other tools that you are using, other systems that you are using. So you are going to test as well the interfaces, and to try to test as deep as needed, right? So the same with the processes that has been affected, because you modified, you adjusted the custom code, and for that, if possible, you should get a automation testing tool. If we talk about the downtime optimization option, this is something important as well for you to consider when you are planning your project. So the business is going to tell you what is the maximum downtime allowed, right? So, and depending on that, it could be the standard system conversion is not the best approach, because maybe it's going to last approximately 3 days when the business only allows 2 days. If that is the case, so then you have to start exploring other options, like for example, the downtime optimized conversion or near zero downtime. And again, this could impact your timeline. So therefore, it is important for you to take that decision as early as possible and plan your conversion cycles based on that. This is just one example of a comparison of one customer when they run a system conversion. The standard conversion here, for example, in that case, lasts more than 60 hours. And when they move to a near zero downtime optimized conversion, it was reduced to around 40 hours or a little less than 40 hours, right? But ideally, this decision should have been taken before, and they didn't need to run 5 mock conversions following the standard approach. Okay, so another important aspect is that you must be aware that a system conversion is more than a technical upgrade. So first, there are some activities like, for example, CBI that demand several functional steps, right? There are configuration, there are some testing, there are data cleansing, and everything is going to be done by a functional consultant and the business, right? The same for finance. There are a lot of checking that must happen, and the business is going to be involved, because potentially this could demand some adjustments, some new configurations. So it's not just a technical part, there is a lot of functional part here. There are other settings that are going to be needed, for example, for new features that you are going to implement. So if you were running, for example, rebates, now you have to move everything to settlement management, and it implies that your functional team is going to need to customize the system, they are going to need to adjust the roles, to test the solution, to train the final users. There is a lot more than only technical activities. The same with Fiori. So if you have decided to enable Fiori, additionally to the activation of Fiori, there are going to be other activities, like, for example, what are the Fiori apps that needs to be activated? That is going to be defined by your functional team. So then what are the people, what are the roles that you have to assign to the different users? And of course, run the testing of the process through SAP Fiori. And again, that will be handled by the functional team. So in summary, you don't you have to be aware that it's important for you to consider first the testing that is going to be run by the functional experts and the final users, and also that potentially you are also need to be focused on the change management, right? If you are moving to Fiori, there is going to be an impact. If you are implementing new features that are mandatory, or you are getting rid of some features that are in compatibility scope and moving to the new solution, there is going to be an impact for the final user. Therefore, it is important for you as well to consider the change management aspect. Another important consideration is the enablement options. So as Tina mentioned, we have created a lot of content that you can consume. Here are just some of the examples of the different OpenSAP courses that we have delivered throughout the years. I will recommend for you to check this list and define what is best for your team. And the latest one that we released happened in 2023, and it's focused on UX. So it's for functional consultants or business users, so how they can leverage the different UX options that S/4HANA provides through SAP Fiori. As Tina offered as well, here's a list of the different knowledge assets that our team has put together. We have separated this in the different line of business. So if you are going to get this text, so please explore what are the areas that you would like to focus, and you can review. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions through the community. We will be more than happy to provide an answer for that. With that, I will hand over again to Tina for a wrap up.
Thank you, Pepe. I will try to start the video. If my screen freezes, I will still be there because audio is on my mobile device. So let's take a look as a recap on the key takeaways of this session. So first of all, before or as early as possible, run the readiness check and also SAP Signavio Process Insights to get fast and early insights for your project. So what are the main effort drivers? What do you need to take into consideration? Custom code adjustments? Which add-ons do you have in your system? All these things. So that's why it's highly recommended to start with this as early as possible. Then another important point, preparation is key, and don't underestimate the early project phases. So like Pepe pointed out, the CVI is something that can even be addressed before the actual S/4HANA projects. Add-ons should be checked if they are compatible and all these things. So this can be done in advance or early in the project to avoid delays later on. Then another important thing is to plan long-term strategy. So don't limit this to the initial transition project, and include Fiori and upgrades in your planning. Why is that important? A technical conversion is possible, but all the innovations, they come with Fiori. And also to benefit from the latest innovations, it's important to be on the latest release, which is why we say upgrading is also important and should be something that you should always keep in mind and already plan for. And the more often you upgrade, the easier it gets in the long run. We have customer examples that upgrade on a yearly or bi-yearly basis, and for them it's just not that much of an effort anymore because they have, let's say, trained their upgrade muscles because they're more used to this. And then as a fourth point, leverage our free of charge offerings. We presented the customer care program, the 5 steps to Fiori bootcamp, the 10 steps to S4 bootcamp. There are open SAP courses, Clean Core bootcamp that is coming up towards the end of the year. And with this, we can also move to our last slide because there you have all the important links, and also, on the left-hand side, you see all the important links to the customer care program and the boot camps, and on the right-hand side, the latest bootcamp dates. So for the EMEA region, for 10 steps, the next one's coming up in June. I think we still have a few seats left, but you need to be quick. And for 5 steps to Fiori, same, starting in the beginning of June, and I think first checkpoint calls are already starting. But if you're already know that you really want to take part, then there might still be a chance. Otherwise, there will be more bootcamps coming up in Q3 and Q4. So if you're interested, just reach out. You can just click on the links. You will get the slides later, and then it's directly opens up in Outlook, and you will send an email to the respective address where you will get all the information that you need. And with that, I think we're done for today. And open it up for questions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Pepe, for your insights. As you already mentioned, the presentation with all the links will be shared with the participants later this week. But you were also very busy answering questions via Q&A tool. I have one raised hand from Peter, and I let him talk and see if we can get Peter to talk and ask the question. Peter? Can't hear you. All right. Let me check the Q&A tool. Yes.
Just answer the question there. What does RIG stand for? Regional Implementation Group.
Right. So maybe a short summary of the question that were in Q&A tool. Maybe Peter try to.
Yes, I can maybe give a summary of some of the questions. Regarding the boot camps, they are all remote. That was one question. And then how customers get access to the offerings. So that really depends. Yet either nominated via the AE or the ECSP, but then customers can also reach out to us directly if you learn about these offerings, like in a webinar like this or at other events. Then there was a question regarding lift and shift scenario and what it means in short. So lift and shift is when your system is already on S4 but running on premise, and then it is moved to a private cloud environment, and then also the subscription model from a pricing perspective. And yeah, the compatibility scope, I shared the note, and that was it in terms of questions.
Right, then I don't know what to do with the raised hand. I actually gave technically the opportunity for Peter to talk. Nothing happens, but now there is your chance to bring up your questions and interact with our speakers directly. And so as I can't see more questions. Again, thanks Tina and thanks Pepe for your presentation. I would like also to thank all our participants for being with us today. Please feel free also to fill out a short survey that we will prepare for you when you will be leaving the session. The next session is this week on Thursday, on May 16. It is scheduled for more Americans-friendly time at 5 p.m. CT. And the topic will be, again, lessons learned from the SAP S/4HANA transformation projects. And we will have Jane to lead us through this session. So with this, as I can't see more questions, thank you very much and stay tuned with us, and we hope to welcome you in one of our upcoming sessions. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.